Thanks very much, Paul. If we could get the slide up, fantastic. Let's go past the disclaimer slide to the first slide if we could. So thank you very much for attending the session. Very important to have that outlook, and I think we are one of the little hidden gems in the market at the moment particularly. So who is ARCTIS? Why, how and what do we do? Look, it's in the name. ARCTIS stands for Architected Trusted Information Sharing. We solve complex information sharing challenges in the digital environment. Why do we do what we do? Well, simple. It's trust, not technology, that is the greatest obstacle to sharing and collaborating on sensitive and classified information. And it's trust which is of high value. So how do we do that? Well, we empower information owners to set their own access policies on how, who, and when their information can be accessed and used anywhere. And we do that through implementing what we call zero trust data-centric security to deliver dynamic, risk-based access to that information so they can collaborate and share that information. If we can jump to the next slide. So who are you investing in? Well, and what is the external market validation of the company? Well, really, I've got a long history there working inside and outside of government and cybersecurity. ARCTIS is really an information security company that solves a niche problem. Kurt Mufferman has led companies overseas and built, been a CEO of billion-dollar companies, mergers and acquisitions, the specialist, and particularly in this field of access control for Microsoft. Kylie Sheether, CFO, very much an ASX CFO, Technology One, mining companies background. So we've got a proven team of performance. On the board there is Leanne Graham from Xero Software fame, as well as Miles Jackman from the Citadel Group. So proven team. We've got global marquee customers. We've got Northrop Grumman. We've got Australian Department of Defence, Attorney General's Department, SAP, Hasbro, a whole range of big name companies that have validated our products. Strong defence and intelligence customer base, primarily market target. Key partnerships with the big guys, Microsoft, Thales, Raytheon, KPMG. So we've been validated not only through the military grade accreditations we have with our products. So how do I know if a cybersecurity product is good? Well, you can't get much better than defence accreditations. And also the awards that we've been winning. Last year we won the Cyber Business of the Year from Defence Connect, voted by our peers, and we've also won the Defence Excellence and Security Awards in the past. We're really in the right market at the right time. And despite those market volatilities, and they have affected us just as much as they have affected everyone else, particularly with the discounting in the marketplace, the geopolitical tensions are really driving our business. The increasing threat of cybersecurity is increasing our business demand. And we're in a niche there, which is the fastest growing area of cybersecurity, which is data-centric security, which is going at a compound annual growth rate of 23%. Next slide, please. So what do we do, and what's our secret sauce, or what is data-centric security and zero trust? Well, zero trust is really simple. It means don't trust anything. Validate every time there's a request to information. Validate who that person is, where they're coming from, what the device is, what access information are they accessing. And we do that by taking attributes about all of those through that chain. From the user, it could be your name, your nationality, it could be your location, it could be the device and at what level of information should be done there. We take those attributes, we form a policy, and we either give you access or change the permissions based upon risk. And those attributes are really important because they create context, which means we can apply dynamic every time the request is done, contextualized risk access. And that's a real game changer because traditional access controls are either you get access or you don't get access. And that means if I'm at the coffee shop and I open my phone up, I see a different view of that information as if I'm in the office headquartered in Australia. When I get on the plane and I land in Hong Kong, I might not be given access to anything. I land in London and I might only see the information that's available to me in the London office, and the information that's restricted to the Australian sovereign capabilities or offices stays there. So it's very important because it means we simplify security for data and information. So if we can move to the next slide, please. And why is policy enforcement and attribute-based access control important? Well, it's really simple. the world has recognised, and particularly defence and intelligence agencies, that the networks are already compromised. So if data is your most valuable asset, why aren't you protecting that first? And of course, data to be, a value proposition needs to be shared and collaborated on. ABAC and the technologies that we provide are the only data-centric security mechanism for zero trust. And because of those attributes, we create context which is risk-based and allows those access policies to be driven by the actual owners of the information, not system administrators. So it's a wonderful product for cloud, for example, and companies moving into the cloud. Next slide, please. So our target market being a new technology that's being, really at that phase of coming in and growing at such a rapid rate to solve the challenge of cybersecurity and information security. The real soft place for us to infiltrate is defence departments globally and also the intelligence markets. Why? Because they've got an identified need. They've already mandated zero trust architectures. They've got strong compliance requirements which must be adhered to if you wish to participate in it. ARCTIS already has deep relationships there. There's barriers to entry, and there's fast-growing. It's a really fast-growing sector by GDP. We're seeing that happen enormously. So that's really where we are focused on with our resources at the moment, because that will fund the distribution into other sectors, and we have a wide range of clients in other industries as well. And of course, defence is wonderfully recession-proof. $275 billion being spent over the next 10 years. $15 billion of that is just in cybersecurity and information security. Next slide, please. So we have three clear goals for the company: to be the preferred platform for sharing information across defence and defence industry supply chain. We want to be the premium provider of policy enforced access management for products to defence. And obviously, part of that is being the thought leader in data-centric security in architecture. So as we grow, we can cross-pollinate into other market sectors, such as supply chain for manufacturing industries, bio, medical, etc., legal, and so on. If we can go to the next slide, please. So how are we going? If you click onto that, we've already done $13 million in trade just with the Australian Department of Defence over the last 3 years. That's now accelerated up to $17 million with the closure of a deal just recently in the last 2 weeks with the Australian Department of Defence for a proof of concept to help modernise their workplace environments. So we're gaining tractions. Defence in and of itself is a huge beast. We are looking at the ability for that proof of concept to expand into an enterprise license. If we move forward to the next slide, we are already defending the Australian Department of Defence's deployed networks where Australian troops go overseas and they want to share information between Five Eyes partners. But with the release of the DSR, we're seeing even stronger investment with AUKUS, the Quad, technology being exchanged between the AUKUS and the Quad. And how do they do that? And how do they build nuclear submarines? How do they invest in the renewal of Australian manufacturing industry, where 60% of that $270 billion needs to be invested in Australian companies? Well, we need to improve the way that we share and collaborate on information, and we're at the forefront of that in providing those platforms and technologies. And obviously, cybersecurity is not going away. We see it in the news every day, and the most recent event was the HWL Ebsworth hack, and that obviously has consequences for government and security. Moving forward. So what are the sorts of customer problems that we're solving? It's all well and good but you really need to solve high value problems if you're going to have high value growth. And the problems that we solve are securely sharing information across the supply chain, sharing and collaborating on classified information between government and industry. And that's why we have good customers such as the Attorney General's Department, which uses our platform to share legal information between the Australian Government Solicitor and external legal services and internal clients. That's just one use of that. We also do that for defence, where we might have a lead prime out there such as BAE sharing information with Saab and Lockheed and the Australian Department of Defence to share information about how they build the next ship with new targeting information and new fire controls, etc. But there's also a need there to protect individuals' intellectual property, which they don't wish to have be shared with potential competitors. We also demonstrate industry security compliance for those people that want to, service government. So if they need an ability to have protected or classified information, we provide that role of securing that information on their behalf, so they don't have to build their own systems. And that includes export controls, which is a massive market, and which you're going to be hearing a lot more information in the marketplace about the ITARs, or International Trades and Arms Regulations, which is a mandatory control on all foreign controlled military exchange of competitive advantage technologies. And that's tranche 2 of phase 2 of AUKUS, which is, you'll hear a lot about in the news as well. And we need to solve that problem to be able to share that information to maintain the alliance's competitive advantage. Problem 4, protect and share sensitive intellectual property. We have Corning. If you've got a smartphone or an iPad, the intellectual property for that touchscreen glass is protected by our products and platforms. King Abdullah Center for Atomic Research and Energy, again, protected by our products. So we are already protecting the world's most sensitive and classified information. That's not a claim, it's something that we do every day. And parties that need to share information where they're not equally trusted. I might want one party not to be able to download and edit information or collaborate on that information, but another party, I might want them to only be able to see that as a read-only format with their name printed across it, so that if they take a photo of that, they can't share it because we know where it's come from. So these are all the sorts of problems that we solve for complex information sharing challenges. Next slide, please. This quarter has been very strong for us. A number of deals there. The $4 million contract for the proof of concept to modernise the defence workplace environment, which we've announced. Babcock & Brown, a major prime defence supplier, who signed up with us for using our products to basically replace their extranet, which they no longer wish to invest in. They're not getting a good return on investment there. We also have DHL, the logistics company. We're working with them. We look after their sovereign data through Encrypt, and our products are now being used to extend them as they transition from on-premise into the cloud. Bank of Finland's also on a similar journey. And of course, we are already that thought leader, working with KPMG to design the data center security architecture for the defense. And that's a services contract which is continuing. Next slide, please. Obviously, that's had a good impact on us. I've only got the revenue figures up there for Q3. I'm not preempting the revenue figures before. So Q4, that'll be out in the next couple of weeks. But you can see there in a difficult market, which we've just heard from Shaw Partners, that we are having strong growth around that 30% to 40% mark. Next slide, please. So why invest in us? Strong tailwinds, great marketplace. We already are established. We've got good annual recurring revenue, and we're really at that inflection point of really starting to dominate our space in the marketplace and extending that into global markets. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, look, you've certainly been very busy since we last spoke to you. And as you highlighted there, the company's announced a number of new contracts, including the one with the Australian Defence Department, the Bank of Finland, DHL, Babcock Australia. Can you just give us a little more colour around these contract wins and how you expect them to impact revenues going forward?
Look, we're really at that stage of penetrating the marketplace, and you're seeing that strong validation and those names. This is a land and expand network growth model. So we land into those big companies. They are obviously doing business through their supply chain, and that's going to continue to increase the licenses. As they start to come across the other problems inside of their business, they're increasing their licenses and asking us to address those challenges for them. So, we think that as we start to accelerate that's going to be a real strong inflection point on that network growth model for annual recurring revenue licenses. At this point of us, we also need to deliver those services, because you are crossing that chasm, as we talk about in product world, and you do need to get to a critical mass to dominate. So, but we are very optimistic about being that company and in that place. And as you can see, with being busy and seeing those announcements drop, we're having great success with executing the strategy.
No, I got you. And on the same sort of shift, in the shift in your revenues from licensing to servicing, in the shift in your revenues from licensing to services continuing? And are there any concerns around that?
No, as I just tried to explain, as a new technology being introduced to the market where the old technologies are failing, you need to have those services to support the license adoption. And so I'm not concerned about some of those shift to those licenses, because what it does is give us access. And as I said, we're all about trust, and it gives us a trusted reference directly to our products. So as I said, that we saw that shift coming out of COVID. The services really picked up over this year. And now what we're seeing at the tail end of that is the pull through of those licenses. So it's you need both of those things. And as it becomes, the products get mainstream adopted, you'll see that model change again. But no, we're happy with that, and I don't think it should scare investors at all.
Okay, got you. And one from the floor here. Microsoft has been experiencing many hacks lately, and given ArchTIS' relationship with them, how does this impact your business and potential contracts, particularly within the US?
Yeah, look, our products need to be more than just focused on Microsoft, because all large organizations, Microsoft's always going to be in that mix, as they are the largest company in the world. They are the largest provider of collaboration products, Teams, Exchange, SharePoint, all of those sorts of products. But we need to solve this holistically for our customers. So as we go forward, we are expanding more broadly into other areas such as NetApp and storage, Talus, other parties' products as well to solve that. So they're one element of it. But you can't ignore the value proposition of adding and securing the investments already made in Microsoft by your clients. And so we'll always have a focus there as well.
Gotcha. And just one last question, Daniel. Data-centric security is relatively new. How much of a first mover advantage do you have, and is the competition catching up with you?
Every deal that we have done in the last 18 months has been sole sourced. Wow. That's how much of a first mover advantage we've got. And now, obviously, we are highly focused in that defense and defense intelligence and defense industrial based marketplace. But because that competitive advantage, if it's good enough for them, it's certainly going to be good enough for the finance sector. It's going to be good enough for the legal sector. It's going to be good enough for the rest. So, but we want to get that right and those revenue streams strong before we diversify, because as you diversify into any other vertical, there is a large upfront investment before, and then we have seen what that lag does before that revenue hits. So you certainly need those strong foundations, and that's why we're focused where we are today.
Daniel, many thanks for your time today. Obviously, you've got a lot going on at the moment, and we wish you the best for the next few months. Take care.
Thanks very much, Paul, and thanks for the listeners.